Hi Virgo, happy early birthday and welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your August 2026 tarot reading. Thank you to those of you who have liked, viewed, shared, and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all of that. For those of you new to the channel, source will be in front of us. It's a 12 card spread with each card representing a different house of the zodiac. Starting with your sign, Virgo is the first house, all the way through to Leo representing the 12th. As far as the decks being used this month, for the main tarot deck, we have the Hermetic Tarot, and for the Oracle deck, we'll be using the Wisdom Oracle. We're actually going to start the reading off everyone knows astrology. I see in front of us to get an idea where your focus should be as far as that goes. Alright, we have 5. So 5th house energy for you guys is Capricorn. Astrologically speaking, pretty quiet area to zodiac right now, but in general, 5th house points to romance, creativity, and children. Alright, we have Venus. So Venus actually is currently in your sign, and it will be moving into Libra on the 6th of August. So basically starting in your first house of personality, self-awareness, and appearance into your second house of possession, self-worth, and finances. And yeah, we have your sign come up as well. So yeah, it could just be saying that maybe you can have a little bit more focus on yourselves this month. But we'll keep that all in mind as we go through the main spread. So for your first house energy, we have the 5 of Pentacles, which is the Lord of Material Trouble. So yeah, so seeing this come up here, well, for one, it's Taurus energy, and we do have Chiron in Taurus, and on the 3rd of August, it's actually going to start a retrograde there, so maybe it's related to that in some way. But this could just be saying that you might feel like you're experiencing some setbacks when it comes to your finances. That could certainly be the case for some of you, but I feel like this is saying that at the same time, too, you might view it a little bit more pessimistically than maybe you would in other circumstances. So just something to be aware of this month. All right, so speaking of finances, for your second house of possession, self-worth, and finances, we have the 10 of Wands, which in this deck is referred to as the Lord of Oppression. Yeah, so seeing this here, it could just be saying that maybe you're a little bit weighed down with financial responsibilities, right? So it could just be saying that maybe it's not so much that you don't have the money, right? But it could just feel like one of those things where as soon as you get the money that comes in, it goes right back out, right? So it's one of those things where with the right mindset, you might realize that, okay, well, thankfully I do have this money coming in so that I can take care of these unexpected expenses. But at the same time, right, it could just feel like you're fighting an uphill battle in reality, right? Where like, okay, it feels like you're working hard, but you have nothing to really show for it at this time. All right. And the 3rd house, which points to communication, journeys, and siblings, we have Justice. So Libran energy here, and to see this, which is referred to as the daughter of the Lord of Truth, I feel like this is saying at the very least you could have some fruitful conversations this month that might help you look at things from a healthier perspective as well, right? So even if the times are difficult as you're seeing them, at the same time you can have productive conversations that can help pivot you and get you moving in the right direction to improve the situations. And I do have to say, given that the Venus energy came up for your in your dice rather as well, seeing this here could just be saying that, especially as we do have that transition of Venus moving from your sign to Libra in the 6th of August, could just be saying that around that time, that might be when you start to have those more productive conversations as well. All right, so for your 4th house, which points to home, roots, and family, we have the 5 of Swords, which is the Lord of the Feet in this deck. So kind of a dramatic name, but 4th house energy for you guys is Sagittarius. So that area of the zodiac's pretty quiet right now, but in this context, it could just be saying that if you were to get into an argument, right, with a family member or just someone in your home environment, someone who feels like family, whatever the case may be, it could just be one of those things where both sides could just be digging in on feeling that they're right, and no one really wants to give as far as compromise goes. So it could just be one of those things where I feel like this is saying if you do feel that energy coming on, especially seeing that you have the Justice energy in your 3rd house communications, it might just be best to withdraw temporarily and then revisit it down the line, right? Where you just realize, okay, in this moment, no one's going to come out the winner here. We're just going to keep butting heads. So maybe withdraw for a bit, come back, revisit the situation a little later. All right, so for your fifth house energy, which we saw referenced in the dice as well, we have the Seven of Wands. So this is actually a Leo energy here, in this deck referred to as the Lord of Valor. So the good thing here, like we said, Capricorn, which is your fifth house, is pretty quiet right now. But to see this come up here, I feel like this is saying that, you know, if you've put in work over the years, right, and maybe work that you didn't necessarily see tangible evidence of paying off, to see this here feels like this is saying that you can win some situations over in that area of life. For your sixth house of health, work, and daily routines, we have the Foolish Man. So yeah, so maybe there's this energy within you that, you know, you feel like you're stirring things up, right? You want to shake things up and be a bit more adventurous, right? Try something a little bit more off the beaten path. That could be a little bit disruptive to your routine, but again, I feel like it's by design, right? Where you might feel like you just need to change something, which, like we said, given these heavy energies we see in the first two houses, even in the fourth, right? That could be pointing to why you do feel that need. All right, so for your seventh house of partnerships, contracts, and relationships, we have the Seven of Cups, referred to as the Lord of Illusionary Success. So yeah, so for some of you, this can point to maybe a romantic connection that wasn't what you thought it was on the surface. And that could certainly be the case for some of you, but what I feel like is a little bit more likely, given these other energies we saw, this could be more of a financial partnership of sorts, whether it be a business partnership, whatever the case. I feel like this is saying that when it comes to that, you might come to the realization that, okay, might have looked one way on the surface now, but now the reality seems to be showing me something a lot different, right? So yeah, so for somebody that can apply romantically as well, but I feel like this is even maybe pointing back to the Mercury retrograde we had recently in the Cancer, right? So maybe you were expecting things to go one way after those conversations during that time, and now you're seeing that the reality is playing out quite differently. All right, so for your eighth house, which in general points to death, rebirth, intimacy, and investments, we have the Nine of Pentacles. So this is actually one of the cards for your sign, as we see the symbol there. So this could just be saying that the key for you to actually have some success, right, some growth, is to actually go the more independent route, right? So it's one of those things that obviously could vary from person to person, but if you have interactions with people and you find that you just be better off tackling the situations alone, that could be what this is pointing to here. And which would also mean that rather than sharing success, when it's really you putting in the majority of work, it would be directed more toward you than anyone else. All right, so for the ninth house, which in general points to philosophy, higher learning, foreign affairs, we have Princess of Pentacles, Princess of the Echoing Hills. So seeing this here could just be saying that maybe in some ways you feel like you have a fresh start, right? So for some of you, given that this is ninth house energy, maybe you did go back to school to get some kind of a certification, right? Or degree. And now with that, you know, you're out there pursuing the new goals that you set for yourself, but it could just make you feel like you might have taken a step back in a way, because it now feels like there's this fresh energy that you don't have much experience with, and you have to learn seemingly almost from scratch, which might take you out of your comfort zone a bit. So for your 10th house of career and social status, we have the King of Pentacles. So in this deck referred to as the Prince of the Chariot of Earth, this is actually Taurus energy, but of course you guys are a fellow Earth sign, so this is a good thing to see either way for your 10th house. But yeah, I feel like this is saying that ultimately you're going to see some signs that you have a lot of staying power, right? And that others see that within you as well. For your 11th house, which points to friendships, groups, hopes, and wishes, we have the Eight of Cups, referred to as the Lord of Abandoned Success. So yeah, so for some of you might feel like you've outgrown certain connections, right? Maybe you feel like you just don't share the same beliefs anymore, enjoy the same things, right? So you could feel like there was a natural growing apart, right? Like I don't feel it was anything abrupt or due to anyone doing you wrong or anything. It's just more of a natural growing apart over time. And for some of you, of course, there could be some disappointment behind it, but at the same time, I feel like you make peace with it as well. All right, and for your 12th house, which in general points to spirituality, blind spots, and mental health, we have the Knight of Wands. So yeah, so this is actually generally a Sagittarius energy here, and for you guys, it is 4th house, and we talked about the 4th house energy too. So yeah, so seeing this in your 12th house could just be saying just be on the lookout for possibly moving too fast, right, and being misunderstood in the process, and just having to come back and apologize and re-explain yourself anyway down the line. All right. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the Magician. So this is a great energy to see come out in this context because to me, even if there are difficulties, which we do see some indicators of that with the cards, to see the Magician, to me, points to ultimately that ability to use the tools at your disposal to turn the situation more to your liking, right? So even if you have gone through a rough stretch, I feel like this is just your reminder that, hey, you have what it takes to get things turned around. But we'll add the Oracle card to the mix and wrap up with that. So I'm just going to give this deck a few shuffles, then we'll cut the deck and pull a card. We'll take this card and get this out of the way, and we'll see what you got. All right, we have a leg up. There's the artwork. The number is 34, so we'll see what this has to say. All right, essential meanings says receiving help, delegating authority, interdependence. The Oracle's message: you've come to a point where going it alone is no longer optimal for you. Life has a way of presenting you with the perfect people to align with who can give you a leg up during this next phase of your journey. Help comes to you in all forms of in all the areas of your life where you need a boost. The trick is to accept that aid so freely given. When you embrace interdependence, allowing teamwork and independence to commingle, miracles happen. Now is such a time. So that was an interesting message there because when I was seeing the Nine of Pentacles in the 8th house, right, I was saying maybe the key to success would be more of the independent route, right? But this could just be cautioning against possibly taking that to the extreme, right, to where you're like determined to do everything alone. This is just saying that, yes, hold on to that part of yourself, right, and bring your skills to the table, especially given that we see the Magician there too, but also be open to receiving help in areas that might be more blind spots for you. Right? The relationship message says relationships that are healthy thrive on interdependence. It's important to recognize that you need others as much as they need you. You must allow people to support you just as you were there for them. This is a time to be vulnerable, to speak up about your needs, and to ask for them to be fulfilled. Trust. You'll be met with kindness and love. Don't expect others to read your mind, though. Ask, and it is given. So, definitely an interesting message there around communication, I feel, more than anything when it comes to relationships. And then that takes me to what we see here in the communication house for you guys, which is the justice card, right? Which is to say that there can be that equal give and take. You just have to be open to embracing that. All right, and the prosperity message says now is the perfect time to seek advice from a mentor or business advisor who has been where you want to go to help you get there too. If you do, you will receive some very good counsel that will aid in your prosperity. It may also be the case that your endeavors have grown and you are in a position where you just can't do it all yourself anymore. Time to bring on those who can give you a leg up. Trust that help is available and it will indeed appear. Delegate authority to others so you can take steps toward your big dream. The perfect people arrive at the perfect time so long as you step forward with just a mustard seed of faith. That's an interesting message there, right? Because seeing the foolish man or the fool in most decks in the 6th house and seeing the King of Pentacles in the 10th house, right? Maybe for somebody that's what it is, right? That there's some rapid growth within that area of life, but you're fixated on doing it alone, whereas this King of Pentacles energy could just be saying, maybe you do need to broaden your horizons and bring other people into the fold, where again, your role could still be very clearly defined and you don't have to give up the independence necessarily, but, just having collaboration where it counts and is beneficial for all. But yeah, once again, happy early birthday, and hopefully that resonates. If you guys, wrap up there. All right, bye.